welcome back to Passed Out. I'm Josh.
I'm Arash.
All right, I'm gonna just kick it to you. You can go ahead and start us off where we want to start today.
Well, I turned 38 this past week, and it got me thinking about obviously one of the most important things in my life, which I really don't do anymore. But the question came up about the um, the fact that marijuana is a gateway drug, and I know you and I worked to get marijuana legalized in Nevada. What year was that? 2017, 18?
So it went into effect in 2017, but it we actually got it passed in 2014, and it took like 2.5 years to actually go into effect. But we actually passed that in the 2014 election cycle.
Are you kidding me? 11 years ago already?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So, well, do you want to go over kind of like what the problems were in getting that legislation? Because we were way behind California. California
Yeah, I feel
in
like
it.
California was quick with it, and then I feel like Colorado kind of set the pace and kind of set the kind of the revenue that states could make from recreational marijuana, and kind of what they could do with that. And I think that
Them in Oregon were the guinea pigs in a
yes,
sense, right?
yes, which we can talk about Oregon being a guinea pig for other things that are actually terrible. Um, right now, like the fact that Oregon, their legalization of fentanyl has backfired severely.
Legalization or decriminalization?
I think they decriminalized it, but like it's just caused a lot of problems. Like Portland is
Really?
like a great example of what happens when you start decriminalizing too many things and you defund your police department. So
Wow.
yes.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to hear about that. Then we'll go back to the weed part.
I
But
didn't have a whole lot
what
more to
happened?
say on it, but I was reading recently that like just fentanyl is just way more rampant there now since they've decriminalized it. It's just like they thought that, like by trying to snub out, I don't know what they were trying to do by decriminalizing it. I think what is the typical argument about decriminalization, that you're basically ending the black market of it, or
Pretty much, you're ending the black market of it,
you're
making it more accessible.
yeah, you're
But
making
with
it
something as addictive as fentanyl, there's never enough of it,
yeah. So, and
or
I
there's enough of it and it kills you.
yeah. So, which I know I know people who have died from fentanyl overdoses, you know,
I've known
and
plenty.
you know, yeah, that's a terrible way to go. But that's how my brother almost died too. Like the meth batch that he had shot up with was laced with fentanyl, and he OD'd. And he had to go to the hospital and get Narcan, and then luckily that was a wake up call for him, because now he's terrified to do drugs, and he's like in a sober living house and trying to going to AA and just like trying to get his life back together. But like, for 10 years, he's been kind of in a drug spiral.
Portland's going to be a very interesting case to see what the hell happens if they go back on their word, or if they're too stubborn to go back. Um, it's kind of scary to think about, but I don't know if decriminalization works if it's only just one area. It has to be the entire nation, I would think. But at the same time, I think Las Vegas and Nevada as a whole also have changed with the legalization of marijuana, because I think people have migrated over from smoking weed and having that culture of doing something that's technically illegal in like a parking lot, in a car in a parking lot somewhere random like Walmart. And then now it's kind of shifted over to meth, from what I've noticed. People smoke meth like it was weed in 2010.
Yeah.
and I think the whole culture is shifted. And granted, from what I hear, meth is a lot less potent than it used to be with the epinephrine or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I also think part of the meth epidemic that we're seeing is the cost of meth. It's on the cheaper side of drugs for a quantity that you can get for a low price.
Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure. Maybe because you can make it with because most of it's made with over the counter products that you can go buy. And there's like limits that like CVS and the pharmacies have limits on the ingredients that you can buy it, but like the fact that anybody can just go, hit a few different pharmacies and get all the supplies for it and then, basically cook it in a pot in your kitchen, like um, it's easy to make because it's made from all over the counter materials.
So that is the main reason why it isn't as potent.
Yes, it's also why it's probably so easily accessible.
Hmm.
So,
How is it in Texas? What's the situation there with
I
the
don't feel like it's a huge problem here. Like I don't run into a lot of people that I'm like, "Oh shit, they're on meth," in Texas. Now when I'm in Vegas, I feel
what?
like that all the fucking time. And there's other states that I've been to where I've been like, "Holy shit, this is bad here." But Texas, I don't really feel like there's huge drug problems in Texas. At least not like there are in other states. Like Ohio is like Ohio has fentanyl problems because Ohio has a lot of the factories that manufacture it there. So like you see that like where there's a manufacturing plant of these drugs, they are more rampant in the communities around them.
I see. Now I know in Philadelphia they had a problem, which I don't know if it still exists, but it, their fentanyl had a tranquilizer in it, and it was flesh eating. So people would shoot up, and their skin would just be eaten alive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want
So
to
there's
get
just a bunch of problems.
yeah. I don't want to get too far off our main topic. If you want to drift back into the weed of it all.
Well, I guess that kind of touches on it because I've been thinking lately about if weed is a gateway drug and if legalization was, I hate to say it, a mistake. I can't even believe I'm asking that now. But with these states now legalizing it left and right, is that going to become a problem in other states that Nevada's facing, that California is facing? It hasn't fixed the economy in California. In fact, you could argue the economy's been even worse. Same thing with Nevada. Everything's way more expensive now. What, you could get weed for cheaper, but the weed now is just so artificial that it feels like it's synthetic. So I don't even know if legalization was even the best idea in the world. The regulation part might be the where the problems lie because if you allow people to just grow regularly and not having a monopoly in the industry, which it seems to be the issue at least in Nevada, that might be where the problem lies. It's you can't grow over three plants. They don't give you the infrastructure to do so. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're right about that. I think that the government puts too many rules on certain things that just, negatively impact the entire market. So I think you're right.
What's the law in Texas now?
So Texas has medical, but only for very, very unique cases. Medical's not readily available here. There's not dispensaries that you can go to. If you are diagnosed with something that they treat with medical marijuana, like there's like only one specialty pharmacy in Texas that can get you the medical marijuana, and you have to like kind of organize all of it through like very specific doctors that are approved by the state for that. It's very, very complicated here.
See, in Florida, it's almost the same, but it's readily available here. And you could go, from what I heard just yesterday, that you could go without even showing supporting documents, say that you have PTSD or depression or anxiety. And the doctor will write you a script, and every 8 months you have to renew it. And there's plenty of dispensaries here. You could even get the Delta 8, Delta 9 products, which still get you stoned, and you don't even need a card for that.
Yeah, you could buy those up until last month in Texas. Texas literally just shut down all the Delta 8 and Delta 9 stuff. So, they've made it, and the way that Texas got around it is they've basically made hemp products illegal here.
Oh,
Yes, which is a whole nother realm of complication, because now you're like, okay, so you can't sell hemp clothes because you guys want to regulate hemp because you don't want people having Delta 9. Like, it's, there are so many, everything that they do, there's so many effects, that they don't even think of that, start from there. So, but yeah, I don't, I think Texas is going to be one of the last places to make medical easy. I think it's going to be one of the very, probably, if not, maybe Idaho and Utah are later than Texas on like actual recreation. But at this rate, where Texas, there are still multiple counties that in Texas where you can't even buy liquor. Um, like it's gonna be forever. Like I don't think that weed's getting legalized in Texas in my lifetime.
do you think is kratom an issue there? I know in Florida they were planning to, or they're at least looking to possibly ban it.
I don't,
I
I
think that
don't. Yeah, I'm not sure what the kratom laws here are. I don't even know if you can get it here. I'm not sure.
I know in Austin at least there's kava, and I think there's kratom drinks in that the kava bar. There's just the culture isn't as prevalent. Florida, for some reason, is the hub. There's so many kava and kratom bars out here, and from what I see, that the extract is the problem. The smoke shop selling the extract.
Yeah.
There's been overdoses, but that's with anything. If you're gonna take anything to the max, just like wax, dude. Some of that wax is so ridiculous. The moon rocks. You don't need to get that stoned. If you need to smoke that to get high, you have a problem.
Yeah, and look, the thing with kratom is like, yeah, kratom's like weed where it's a leaf, right? Like kratom's a leaf,
It's
correct?
I think it's like a root.
Yeah, because like
Or no, maybe that's what the kava
I
is.
feel like I saw one of those. I can't remember. Did you ever watch
It
that
is a leaf.
pharma?
You're right.
Okay, okay, yeah. Because I remember when Vice used to have like the TV network and like Action and like basically like that's where like Action Bronson's cooking show was and like that's where Deezus and Miro were for a while and
Hamilton was the drug guy.
is it Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia? Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, okay. Perfect. I'm glad you knew what I was talking about. So, Hamilton, he actually did an episode on Kratom where he went out to like where they were like, picking the leaves and like they gave him like a leaf to like just like and like they chew on it. They chew on the leaves.
Yeah.
So, I thought
Is
that
that
was
what bot
interesting.
is?
Huh?
Or is bot something else? Bot?
I've
BAT?
I've never even heard of that.
That might be a South American thing.
Maybe it's
But
maybe it's
bot
close
is
to the same
is
thing, same family maybe.
that might be. But I think 90% of the production of kratom comes from Indonesia, and it's a specific island in Indonesia.
That would make
Just because
sense.
it has to be certain distance from the equator for it to grow. Apparently, there's
Interesting.
some stuff in Florida that's grown, but it's not nearly as good. It's this island in Indonesia, and it's not bad for the environment either. Literally they just chop off leaves of a tree. They don't even need to chop off the tree itself. So they're just growing in abundance there and
Yeah.
chopping off branches or leaves and manufacturing it that way. But I know a lot of people that whether it's drinking, opiates, they're they're finding a lot of help with kratom, me included. It's helped me a lot. There is a dependency issue, but I'd rather be spending $5 on an ounce of kratom than pretty much anything else. It's cheaper than coffee.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I haven't done kratom in a really long time. The only thing I do now is, you know, I still smoke weed, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna actually stop smoking weed. You know, maybe I do have a problem with it, but like I don't really smoke before I go to work or anything. You know, like I pretty much just smoke it. You know, on the weekends, yeah, I'll smoke all day, but like during the week, like
I
I'll
might be
smoke
sounding
at
too
night.
harsh.
During the week, I'll smoke at night when I as soon as I get off work, I'll smoke weed. But you know,
For me, weed, I was sounding a little harsh on it. A lot, I would say 95%, maybe even more of people who smoke weed don't have an issue with it. They just like even if they're stoned at work, as long as they're not operating anything crazy.
I
It's
I
it's beneficial to a lot of people.
yeah, but like I think that if you have an addictive personality, we can be like anything else, and you're probably right. For those people who have extremely addictive personalities, like you and my brother, like weed probably was a gateway drug. Alcohol probably could be considered a gateway drug as well. And as your tolerance for your typical vice accelerates and grows, and you're not getting as high as it used to get you, I think that's where the gateway issue becomes a problem, where you start jumping to other things because you're chasing the high. I think that is really where it is if you're chasing a high and the weed's not doing it for you anymore because you're smoking too much and your tolerance is too high, you're probably, I think these people jump to other things. And I think that's probably how weed's a gateway drug. Like I think anything could be a gateway drug. I think, like
I think that's part of it. I think the thing with weed though is if you're down to smoke something to be intoxicated, chances are you're down to smoke or eat other things to get intoxicated. So I think it's like a mentality thing. I don't know if it's
you're
necessarily the substance itself.
No, I agree with that because yeah, like back in the day I've done my fair share of plenty of things. So,
Allegedly.
yeah.
uh, it was fun working in Nevada. That was probably like the easiest thing to to work for,
Yeah,
and
legalizing marijuana.
yeah,
Which
because even people who didn't agree, they at least it wasn't a really a partisan issue.
no, and I think it's more politicized where you are in Florida, because so a petition company got it on the ballot last year and it went down. Now there's a petition company who's trying to get it on the ballot again this year, but DeSantis yesterday signed into effect a new bill that will basically end out of state petitioning in Florida. So now only Florida locals will be able to petition
No
um, to
way.
get that on the ballot. So I think that within the next couple of days, you're going to see the entire legalization petition shut down in Florida because now, like all of those out of state circulators won't be able to work there. So, like, you'll probably see that entire thing shut down.
That's interesting. I think DeSantis is afraid of people from liberal states coming and essentially, in his opinion, hijacking possible legislation, which I don't know if that's really a bad thing. That might be a smart thing. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that, but
Yeah, it
I
happened yesterday. They've been trying. So, yesterday was the last day of your guys' session, and they've been trying the entire session to get this bill passed. And it sounds like there was multiple different versions of the same bill in the House and the Senate, just kept going back and forth. And then Thursday night, I saw that the House and the Senate finally found a bill. Both both sides passed it, and then it went to DeSantis's desk yesterday, and I wasn't sure if he was going to sign it into effect, but I figured he probably would because I did see that it was part of his agenda this year was to try and do that. They want to stop people. What they're trying to do is they're trying to stop people from being able to change the laws. They think that since they're the government, they should be able to make laws, and that we as citizens shouldn't be able to put a ballot initiative on the thing. They can't legally tell you that you cannot try to change a law as a citizen, but what they can do is they can make it extremely hard to get an initiative on the ballot, which it's already extremely hard to get an initiative on the ballot in Florida. Okay. So, Florida, it's based on population. So, in Florida, you'll end up with your guys' population you guys need like I think it's like 800,000 valid signatures to get onto the ballot, which means that like roughly petitions come in about 65 to 70% validity from people who are actually registered or registered in the right place and also from the day you collect a signature in Florida, you have to turn it back into the state within 10 days. So they just make it extremely hard for you to actually pass anything. So you need at the end of the day, once you factor in validity for that like 800,000 signatures, you need like 1.2 million signatures to put something on the ballot in
right,
Florida. So that's already a huge feat already. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop companies who, just come in with like an army of petitioners and basically drop them in a state, that can do that. And there's a lot of states that allow out of state circulation, but, Florida is now one of the ones that is local requirements only. So a lot of companies will have to kind of figure out their roots now and just switch to more of a local method,
was
which
Montana not like that,
Montana.
or was
No, remember when we were working in Montana, it was like that. Montana is no longer like that
yeah?
because Montana passed a law like 4 years ago that allows, in 2021, Montana passed a law where out of state circulators can work there now.
Okay.
The country's divided into like sections of like where you can do this. But Montana, when we were working in Montana in 2015, I don't want to talk about what we were, working on her because like, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into too details just because I don't want to get in trouble with my
Gotcha.
work about some
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. But so when we were up in Montana, we were me and you and Rob when we went up there to help. They pretty much just had us driving teams of petitioners around because the three of us couldn't actually circulate there.
That's right. Yep.
So we were just driving teams of locals around. So now Florida will be the same way.
Okay. But the population of Montana obviously is a lot lower
Oh
than
yeah, dude. Like
Florida.
Montana, Montana. I think you need. Yeah, dude, Montana. So if I were gonna build a staff that was gonna circulate petitions that had to get an entire statewide petition done, okay, I could do Montana with a 30-person staff. Florida requires a 400-person staff basically to get it done.
Wow.
It's and well, it could fluctuate depending on how long you have. But say you have 6 months to get a 1.2 million signatures, you need about 400 people. Okay. Now I think that all the Florida initiatives that are working right now, they're not trying to get anything on the ballot until 2026. So they basically have until January right now to get those on the ballot. I think the cutoff for most counties in Florida is January 30th of the year that the election will be held. And most counties will give you an extension if you ask them. So, but marijuana legalization, I think, is about to hit a huge recreational marijuana legalization is about to hit a huge wall in Florida because of the bill that they passed yesterday.
Well, I mean, I've heard two things regarding why it didn't pass last year. First of all, it literally was 1% away from passing. You need a 60%
Uh, was it one? I thought it was
vote to
50.
pass a.
I thought it was like 56 is what it came in at last time, but maybe I'm wrong. Was
Oh,
it
okay. I thought
59?
I heard it was 59, but
No,
these
I'm
sources
pretty
are
sure it
not
was like
very.
I think it was like 55 and some change. So I think it was I think it was closer to 56, but it was in the 55 still.
Okay, well, it's still majority of voters, and then
Yeah,
there's
I don't
two problems with the ballot. That one, people
why do
say
they
that
do
the
super
Seminoles. I don't know why they do it. I have no
like I
idea.
don't know, why do you need
It's.
like if you broke the 50% threshold, why can't you pass it then? Why do you have to get to 60%? Why do you need super
I think
majority
it's
for
because
something?
it's considered an amendment to an existing law rather than a new law. If that makes sense. That's the
That
only
does
thing I
make
could think
sense,
of.
and I could look at Ballotpedia and kinda break that down and get more information on that, but, yeah, that's just kind of where my head goes at first, but I didn't wanna cut you off with
Yeah,
Seminoles, so
I
go.
think when it comes to amendments of legislation, that's when it's required. Uh, so there's two problems with the with the proposition or question in Florida last year. Was one, it was the Seminoles have a lot of power here, and if they're not in control of something, apparently, allegedly, then it's going to be hard to pass anything or get any traction with that population. Another problem I heard was Florida was looking at other states, such as Nevada, to where they look at the distribution side as a potential monopolization of the market. So they don't want two or three outside state agencies that incorporate in Florida to run the entire business. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people the people wanted to vote for something to where they could grow their own because it's easy to grow in Florida. But that wasn't really gonna that really wasn't on the ballot. The laws were stated to where yeah, you could go to a store and buy it, but people growing it themselves, they couldn't. So they're like, what's the point? This isn't what I wanted to vote on. Thinking that it would be easy to vote on it again. So those two hurdles are something that
And it
Florida voters faced.
and it would have been easy to do it again because currently so they started a new petition basically in January, and they've collected almost 300,000 signatures right now on the Florida marijuana campaign. Um, but like this whole thing's gonna die now because those are mostly out of state circulators that are down there doing it. So
Oh, so they can't be grandfathered in?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know 100% on the law, but like I kind of think that was why they wanted to. I kind of feel like that's why they pushed it through real hard in this session was to kind of stop everything that was happening right now in their tracks. I also think that's why I also think that's why the Medicaid expansion petition is started out with all locals. I think that they knew that this was going to happen, so they didn't even bring in travelers. So like that group was smart about it.
That's gonna first thing I thought of as soon as you mentioned that, the out of state, the lack of out of state petitioners was how the industry would explode here. I need to get my Florida ID.
Yeah,
Or it might just completely devastate it because they probably think they don't have enough people to work it here.
then that's possible. That's very possible. And I could speak on that, but I don't want to get too much into like the hood of my company. So I'm gonna just
You could
refrain a
say it
little
maybe with
bit.
kind of being using different names, maybe.
Yeah. Um.
Oh, it's sensitive info. I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little sensitive, but like,
Okay. You don't
yeah,
want to give out the secret sauce that y'all do.
yeah, because it it factors into like hiring practices and like hiring techniques and things like that. And I don't want to give away, stuff that like, could hurt that company. So, um,
Yes, I understand.
now something I do have experience with is you were talking about the Seminoles and how like they are, kind of a proponent of blocking, marijuana. The same thing happened 4 year, like 6 years ago with the when Florida tried to legalize sports betting. So sports betting,
Mm,
FanDuel's and DraftKings wanted to get into Florida, and they wanted to basically have, they wanted their apps. They wanted people in Florida to be able to, access their online apps to, place their, sports bets. Well, so like that required a petition to get it on the ballot. Well, the Seminoles put millions of dollars into a blocking campaign and like a smear campaign basically to stop all of the companies from, basically trying to get this thing on the ballot so that people could vote on it because the Seminoles, they are not against sports betting, okay? They have their own sports betting app that they want people to use. So they want to legalize sports betting, but they want to legalize it so that they have a monopoly on the app game there so that they have control of the entire sports betting industry in Florida.
it
So
makes sense because it's the same way in Las Vegas. Nevada is one of the few states, if I'm not mistaken, where you can't go on an app and
no,
gamble.
well, they also like in Nevada, it makes a lot more sense because there's a lot more casinos than there are in Florida. I don't know how many casinos the Seminoles have in Florida, but like per capita, Nevada probably has the most amount of casinos in the country, right?
Right.
So, and they don't want to lose money in their sports books to DraftKings and FanDuel's. It makes sense that Nevada doesn't want that because like that is like their bread and butter is probably a lot of sports betting. Now I saw that Caesars was refusing to pay out. You see this? You see Caesars refusing to pay out some sports winning this week because like they broke the I guess the guy had used bookies and he like had made bets from multiple states through bookies and I guess that like breaks I guess that's like against the law there or something like some weird technicality, but like the casino industry in Nevada is hurting bad right now. Like they cranked up the prices. They started charging for fucking parking. They basically did away with a lot of the family friendly casinos and they built all these fucking like luxury fucking casinos. Like, we're going to be like, I feel like Vegas is trying to be the new Abu Dhabi and it's not fucking working.
Right. Like a Macau, Abu Dhabi. And I mean, Vegas has been transitioning to that for a while. I think
They've been
the family friendly
Yeah,
part
it died at
was
the end of the
late
90s.
90s, early
Yeah. Yeah,
2000s.
like when we moved to Vegas and we were kids,
And then it became more of a nightclub destination like a Miami. And then now
Yeah,
it's
but
more of a Macau, Abu Dhabi, as you said.
yeah, like but like where that's a problem now is now the federal government is going to cause, like where that probably could have been a thing where like Vegas, yeah, probably could have transitioned to just like, hey, let's be a rich destination for, you know, these rich types. Let's try and be the new Macau and the new Abu Dhabi. But what happened, I think, with all these tariffs and all these deportations, and all these countries like China telling their people not to travel to America, the Asian community coming to Vegas is a huge part of the casino industry. I feel like that is
Right.
like the number one. I feel like that is like some of the biggest amounts of tourism is China coming to Vegas. So I just,
For goodness sake, it's been like that for a while. Remember the
yeah,
MGM that you would walk through the lion's head, and that's bad luck
yes.
in Chinese culture, and they changed
They
that. They
changed it.
completely
Yes.
remodeled that.
Yes. And there's a reason that there's not a 13th floor on any fucking casino. And they did. And Um,
Is that Chinese? I thought that might have been American culture
that is
too.
Chinese. The
Oh,
Chinese are
wow, I
very
didn't know that.
superstitious of 13. They do not like the 13th floor. They do not want to stay on the 13th floor, you know. And there was even a time where they were like, "Hey, well, if you're not going to have a 13th floor, then technically the 14th floor is this." So they wouldn't stay on the 14th floor. So now what the 13th floor is on every casino is a midway mechanical floor that's like a subfloor basically for like
Wow,
mechanical.
that's smart.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That's like a 6 foot floor. You gotta like, it's like a big crawl space, but it's like another mechanical section so that all the mechanics don't have to be in the basement or the roof. You have this like midway point for mechanical, which is great for the mechanical and the building industry. And it kind of gets around, and that's basically what the 13th floor in all Nevada casinos is now, to get around that superstition.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. A lot of these casinos
I learned that.
too, they have like
I
those.
Yeah, I learned that when I was doing construction and I was like building casinos with my dad.
Uh, at MGM, I know they have those elevators. It's three different sets, and one goes from 1 to 12. The next one goes from 14 to 26 or something,
Yep.
and then the final one goes to the penthouse suites.
You can access the
And
13th floor from the freight elevators that the construction sites use, and the freight elevators only operate from the basement of the casinos. Which, if people don't know, um, when you're like walking through a casino, like you don't see a whole lot of like workers and shit like that. Behind the doors in the casino drop into these hallways, and there are subfloors underneath the main floor of the casino that is basically a basement, and that is where like all of the employee cafeterias are,
the quarters,
all
yeah,
of the core, yeah, like that's where they're washing all the sheets, that's where the maids and everybody's kind of working out of, and they operate through the freight elevators that come up through the basement so that they're not using the
right.
same elevators as the casino guests. Dude, those casinos are immaculately designed for functionality, and it's amazing, but like I feel like Vegas is hurting, and I feel like the recession that we're heading towards is only going to hurt it worse.
Some of the videos I've seen of Vegas being empty have been disputed by people who work there,
Have
saying that
they?
it's been it's been completely packed still. But
I think
I hear
they might
also
be
hear
focusing
MGM
on
is hurting.
certain casinos. Like I don't disagree. Like I don't look. Every time I go there to visit my mom, I always go and check out whatever new casino they open, just because I love the architecture. I love Vegas. I miss, dude, I miss leaving the Tropicana office like late at night and just driving down the 215, just looking at the fucking strip, and then just like pulling off onto Las Vegas Boulevard to drive back to where our community was. Man, I fucking
I
miss
miss that
that.
too.
I fucking miss
That's
that,
one
dude.
thing I miss about Las Vegas
There's
completely.
something about just the view of Vegas and just like seeing the strip from like the fucking desert, especially when you're like up on the 215, you're up a little higher, Like I love.
The craziness of Fremont Street is
Yes.
such a vibe.
I know, dude. Such a vibe. So I do miss Vegas. But yeah, like I went to Resort World when I was there last time, and it was pretty fucking dead in there. So,
I hear Resorts World is struggling,
yeah, so like I just
but that's Chinese owned, isn't it?
it is. But it's just
So you think about how much effort they're putting into that. Well,
yeah,
I
maybe they're
I, I
just
guess that's
giving
kind
up.
of a dumb thing to say. And Resorts World is, if I'm not mistaken, they have the reason why it's called Resorts World is because they have a bunch of resorts packed into one destination.
Is that what it
So they'll
is?
have, I think so. They have different different brands of hotels, and those will be the different sections of the property.
Interesting. It wasn't like that when I was there. It was kind of boring, honestly. The only thing that was there was like they had like the cool LED ball in there, but then the city built their own giant version of that, and now they have the sphere. So
Oh man, that thing looks so cool.
I know I really want to go to a show there.
everybody talks about it here.
Yeah.
That whenever I say I'm from Vegas, one of the first things they mention is, "Oh, I want to go to the Sphere."
Yeah. It is super cool, and the show is like every show, like every clip I've seen from a show there looked awesome. Like just very, it's trippy. It's got to be trippy having LEDs all around, right?
It gives off a big Blade Runner kind of vibe. Between that and the Resorts World huge fucking LED screen,
I have
Las
heard
Vegas
that.
is kind of heading towards that Blade Runner kind
Yeah,
of
dude. I
aesthetic.
have I have heard that people have like some. There are people that find like are having like equilibrium and balance issues like in certain parts of the sphere just because of like the way that it's like positioned and then like the lights and things that can make you kind of feel disoriented. So,
Well, I'm sure. I mean, we touched on this last time. The frequencies. There
yeah.
probably some weird frequency waves going on in there
Oh,
to where people are
I'm
feeling.
sure.
People who live next to electrical grid wires. A lot of my friend used to live next to one. He was having seizures.
That's crazy.
I mean, it could be unrelated, but
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those that's one of those pseudo conspiracy theories that's like really hard to prove, like people talking about like the 5G lines and things like that and power lines and
like even blue light, that's pretty much proven at this point.
the blue light from your phone, like just us looking at it at night and stuff, just causing problems.
Yeah, that's harmful. Or even having your cell phone near you when you sleep. That there's a lot of science backing that up.
Yeah. Dude, and I was thinking about getting some of those blue light lenses for my just some glasses like that just cuz I'm whether I'm at my day job, which is me staring at a computer, or I'm like, working, in the studio, which I'm also staring at a computer, or I'm working on a podcast, like everything I do, like every little facet of everything I do involves a screen.
I'd recommend them big time. I just got I've always had blue light glasses, the clear
Yeah.
lenses, but I just got the orange tinted ones. I feel like those make a huge
Do
difference.
they? I have orange tinted glasses. I have like some rose tinted glasses in the car that are really cool, but I use those more as like sunglasses that are like less sunglassy. Like if we're in an event, if we're like in an outdoor event, like like a wedding or something, I'll wear those glasses because they are like they keep the sun out of my eyes, but like they look fucking classy. So, but did you was there more on weed being a gateway drug that you wanted to touch on? We kind of veered all over the course there.
Well, weed was a gateway into the rest of the podcast. No, what did you you have anything in mind you wanted to touch on?
The only other thing I wanted to talk about is I did see Sinners last weekend. And I just you wanting to talk about, weed being a gateway drug. I kind of wanted to talk about just vampiricism in films in general and how I think that it is kind of portrayed like it is a bit of a addictive disease,
Oh, okay.
like they are it's it's blood, right? Like they need blood like it's a fucking drug. Like yes, it's their sustenance, but they don't really treat it they don't really treat it like me and you needing to eat a meal, Like they treat it like it's sensual and sexual and like there's like this tension there and there's like this need for it and this craving and when you think about when you look at it from like the angle of like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like in the beginning of that movie, like he is old and weak and living up there in that castle in Transylvania, like he's like stealing babies for his fucking wives to eat, from like villages nearby and just doesn't have a whole lot of access to blood to where like Keanu Reeves shows up, his character Jonathan Harker shows up, and they're like cutting little pieces of blood to keep themselves sustenance. But then he gets on the, I don't know if it's pronounced Demeter or the Demeter. You know, Demeter is, you know,
Hmm.
the Greek god, but like, you know, the voyage of the Demeter, which basically they say he, you know, Dracula was like on that ship. But the ship when it shows up in London at the end of the story, everybody's dead on the ship. And it's made to look like it was a plague ship that hit, but it was actually like Dracula, like he drank everybody on that ship. And when he gets off, he is a young, like, you know, young fucking smooth dude, and he just swoops right in and picks up fucking Winona Ryder, and you're like, all right. So like it's just like it's regenerate. So like they show blood like it has a regenerative, you know, like it's regenerative, like it's a craving, you know, like so yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of pop culture that kind of treats, you know, the blood of vampirism like it's almost like a drug addiction.
A lot of people, I don't know about a lot of people, but there's some people that would say uh, life imitating art with the sense of Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton. I forgot what that video is called, but where they have this girl tied down, they cut the skin off her face, and they drink her blood, or they put on her mask. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
have no idea
The
what you're talking
supposed
about, but
the supposed video on not Hunter Biden, Anthony Weiner's laptop. You haven't heard about this?
no. But it was on
Oh
Anthony
my
Weiner's
gosh.
fucking it was
Yeah,
on his laptop?
allegedly. Yeah. And it had this weird title. Oh my gosh. Let me
Anthony
look it up
Weiner
right
is
now.
such a
But
fitting name for a guy who got in trouble for showing his dick.
that's the least of his worries. That
I
was the
know, but it's
least of
just
his
like
worries,
it's the most
apparently.
fitting thing for his fucking name.
You know, part of me is like, he was such an easy target because of his name.
So
If
easy.
if if this shit is true, there's the words. I don't know. I could go down that whole rabbit hole of words just having way more meaning than what they appear. But let me look at the Hillary Clinton video. I'm gonna get banned off of fucking Google right now. Hillary Clinton. I can't believe you haven't heard of this.
No, but so they're saying that this chick looks like a 1800s version of like Hillary Clinton, looks like same facial features. Because I said, dude, I see pictures a lot of like where they compare like an old 1700s or like 1800s photo to like a current like celebrity, and you're like, holy shit, that guy really looks like
No,
Keanu Reeves, or that guy really looks like fucking Tom Cruise.
no, this is a little different. This is more about the blood aspect of what you were talking about. It's called
Okay.
frazzle. It's frazzle drip, but it's, I guess the file type was, it was called frazzled.rip. So they just call it
Okay.
frazzle drip. And it's a it's rumored, but allegedly there were officers who saw this, and they were deeply affected by this to where they like threw up and shit. But it allegedly shows Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin, who was married to Anthony Weiner, I believe.
Okay.
It was her longtime aide. Regardless, I think she's married to the Soros son now, Alexander Soros,
Okay.
or at least
That
stating it,
that would make sense.
which doesn't help her cause at all.
No, not at all.
But yeah, Abedin is the ex-wife of Anthony Weiner, and so this video was allegedly discovered on his laptop, and it was labeled life insurance. And police officers, when they were doing the forensics on his computer, uh, it's it's a snuff film basically. It's this chick, and they cut her face like very precisely, and there's something from the fear gland that the elites, quote unquote, used to get high on, and it basically sustains them. It keeps them younger from aging so much.
That's crazy. Is that what they're doing at Bohemian Grove?
I think so. Bohemian Grove was more of a satanic ritual, I guess. But I was just watching when Alex Jones broke into Bohemian Grove,
Bro, I've watched that too.
and
It's crazy, right?
on the program that he gets, it really does look like a fucking baby being burned alive on it.
Yeah.
It's a very weird ritual they have. Supposedly, the person that they bury or they burn alive, I mean, that they burn, it's just it's just a figure. It's no real person in there. It's just a ceremony, like a fake ceremony depicting pagan rituals, and they'll say that it's to kind of scoff at it, but it's just a really weird thing to fucking to do. And there'd be a lot of people that he interviewed in that would be like, "Oh yeah, that's where all the politicians and the elite bring their prostitutes to," and it sounds just like another Epstein Island.
Epstein Island Part 2. Yeah. Man, that's crazy.
So I know we lost a lot of people right now talking about all this conspiracy stuff, but this shit fascinates me.
That dude, conspiracy theories are interesting. There's a reason that there's so many podcasts and YouTube channels dedicated to this type of conspiracy. I think I think people are interested in it. So,
One
but
of my favorite quotes is the difference between a conspiracy theory and truth is 6 months.
that's it's true.
Oh, so get this. You know about sorry to hijack this, but you know about chemtrails and how including me, I thought it was a complete conspiracy theory. Well, look at what the EU and the UK have admitted to this week. Just this week, they've been they've confirmed that they're putting stuff in jet fuel and that they've been spraying stuff in the air to prevent as much sunlight coming through to cool down the sunlight. Basically, prevent as much sunlight coming through. And we know DARPA for sure, even though they'll never admit it. DARPA's been rumored to do this. If the UK and EU are doing this, 100% the US is doing it too. It's
Absolutely.
crazy that they finally admitted to it. And there's these little things that, like, once again, that crazy motherfucker Alex Jones is right. You know, he's wrong about plenty, but I don't think he's as crazy as people think. He's crazy, but it doesn't mean he's not telling the truth about certain things. That man does his research.
Yeah. I still think it's so funny that like after so many years he was just like, "Oh, it's an act." Just like,
Well,
"Oh."
he had to. He had to because he was getting sued for some of this Sandy Hook stuff,
Yes, he was.
and it touches on because his defense was it's an act. So if I say something wrong, it's not defamation because I'm acting. That was pretty much the only defense he had left. He's kind of caught in a corner.
Yeah.
But he is for entertainment, but there's a lot of things he mentions that there's a nugget of truth that if you go look at it further, it kind of makes sense. Um, and I don't know, I haven't seen enough footage about his opinions on Sandy Hook. Apparently, he said that even the children were fake,
Yeah,
that there's no deaths
he
there.
did say it was fake.
But there's a lot of false flag events that occur
Yeah.
to where they hire crisis actors to push the narrative a little bit more. It's so complicated. I don't want to go down. Maybe we could talk about that for a whole episode
I'm
one
sure
day.
we could, yeah.
And I like to do a little bit more research because I really do want to investigate that and see what he's gotten right. Have you seen his video in July 2001 where he predicted 9/11? He was saying,
Ye
call the White House and tell them that we don't want you to fly planes into the World Trade Center and blame it on Islamic terrorists. In July 2001, a month and a half before it happened.
I didn't know about that, but, like, I was also God, we were so young when dude, I was in 8th grade
Yeah, yeah, I
when
don't remember when it
9/11 happened.
happened, but there's tape there, even on YouTube. You could go type it in, and it's time stamped and everything, dude. On there, it says he says, call the White House, and he puts the White House's number on the bottom. He's like, tell the president that you won't believe that Islamic terrorists flew planes into the World Trade Center a month and a half before it happens. How the fuck did he know that?
I don't know, but that's
There's,
insane.
I mean, the Chris Carter, the guy from the X Files, he this has been confirmed by several people that he and his wife were hired to go to the CIA, and what the thing was to write um, essentially fiction to, I don't want to butcher how I describe this, but to put scenarios in their head, the CIA's head and the defense uh, heads uh, to come up with this crazy situation, and so where they could play out these scenarios, like if, let's say, a nuclear bomb was to go off in Arizona or some shit, but like be creative with it because he's a very creative guy. X Files is one of the most creative shows ever, and he in 2001 came with it was an offshoot of the X Files. It was about those guys in suits that uh, Mulder would talk to all the time. I forgot what they were called, but it was an offshoot. And it was a offshoot of the X Files series. The very first episode, the pilot episode, was um, the CIA, or it might have been Islamic terrorists, that they were going to fly planes into the World Trade Center. I think yes, they were going to blame it on the Islamic terrorists. The CIA was, and they prevent these planes from going into the World Trade Center. This aired in like April or March of 2001, but the series never got picked up. So when you put those two things together, the fact that Chris Carter 100% worked for the CIA and that aired the year before, did they maybe get that idea from him? They're like, oh, this would be a great fucking thing to do.
Maybe. So, I'm looking right now, and the only so it looks like are you talking about the lone gunman?
I know it premiered in 2001. It might
Lone
be
gunman.
that might be
The
the name of the pilot.
maybe. It says the lone gunman uh American conspiracy fiction thriller drama series created by Chris
Yes,
Carter, aired March 4th, 2001, spinoff of The X Files.
that's it. And if you read the pilot episode, it pretty much describes 9/11.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look into that. I love The X Files. The X Files is a great show. I think Ryan Coogler's gonna reboot The X Files, which brings me back to Sinners, which was really fucking good. If you want to see like a good movie about like the blues and Mississippi and vampires. It's really good. It's kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn, where it's like like halfway through the movie, you're like you don't really know it's about vampires, and then all of a sudden it's about vampires. So,
That's what I love about From Dusk Till Dawn.
bro, me too. Like
That's probably my favorite Tarantino movie, maybe after Pulp Fiction.
my favorite Tarantino movie is probably a fucking hot take at this point in my life.
Wow.
You want to know what it is?
Yes.
I think since it came out, my favorite Tarantino movie is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's
Oh wow, I had a feeling
so
you were gonna say that.
dude, it's so fucking good, man. It's just like dude, I love old Hollywood. I love making movies. Like I love the stories and the ending. The ending of that movie is so fucking perfect. It's like, let's take a spin on the Manson murders, but like, let's just make it this crazy fucking scene, and let's give Leonardo a fucking flamethrower, and have him just light up Mikey Madison at the end of this in his pool. And I was like, this is a fucking great ending. It's perfect.
Sorry about the spoiler alert, guys.
Yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you haven't seen it yet, you're probably not a Tarantino fan.
That's true.
But dude, I
I,
find I have some appreciation for most
I don't think it was a bad
Tarantino
movie.
movies. Yeah.
I don't think it was a bad movie at all. It's interesting that Ryan Coogler might be doing the X Files. It's cool to see a lot of black dudes or black people doing horror movies now. I think they're really good at it.
Dude, they are very good at it, but like historically, like blaxploitation films have been, horror films. They've been at the top of their, like there's always been black horror films. They just weren't celebrated in, the all around media as they are now. And I think Jordan Peele really fucking, flipped the script and
100%.
opened the fucking door on this in the new, in the new age of movies. Like, Get Out and Us. Those
Every
are
time I see a strange looking cloud, I think of Jordan Peele and Nope.
and Nope, dude. I know. I I think that's I really liked Nope. That's a dude. That alien is fucking crazy. Like the shots of it, like where it's like opening up and shit. I'm like, this is insane. So good. So good. But we've crossed the hour threshold, so let's wrap it up here. If you got anything else you wanted to say.
No, well, if you've listened to this, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, share it to your friends who you think would enjoy this, and we appreciate you.
Yep. So I'm gonna go see Thunderbolts tonight. So if I'm talking heavily about superheroes next week, that's probably where we're going.
Cool. Look into Frazzle Trip as well,
I
and
will.
then I'm going to touch on conspiracy theories. So we'll try to tie those two together. We
I
we always
think
do.
I think we can usually tie the two things we want to talk about together pretty well, which I think is just kind of how the show's gonna go from here on, guys. So, all right, until next week. Thank you.
Later, guys. Thank you.